and gentlemen, we welcome you all. It's a great scene for the eyes to see so many people in front of us. I'm sure the pandemic has restricted us in our homes, hardly any movement, hardly any human interaction. But this is definitely soothing, way more soothing than I thought it would be. We have time away from our homes. We are here today, and we can finally get rid of Arnab Goswami for a while. It's very soothing, it's very calming. The event today is definitely known to you. The author launch, the book launch, a book which is a collection of poems that describes the journey closer to the nature. In recent times, be it Corona or without Corona, we've seen the diminishing human contact. People are preferring mobile phones, internet, over their peers, their family, their friends. Google has taken over. So I think this gives us an immense opportunity to interact, to do something new, do something which we have been craving for in the last especially 3 months. Moving across the nature, we all visit hill stations during our summer holidays, winter holidays, all kinds of breaks. But it takes special talent to see, to observe, and then finally relate to it. When I saw part of the book, I realized how many chances I missed when I had a chance to see, to observe, to collect my thoughts and give them shape. But I think that was not meant for me. But it's meant for somebody very special. Somebody who's done a tremendous job in putting a leash to her thoughts, arrange them, limit them, pack them, and present it to us in this beautiful collection called Jogi. So I want you all to give a big round of applause and welcome Shubhrika Dogra, the poetess. But just a moment. You have to clap like...
One turn to another. The chirping of the birds in the valley and everything that hails from the beauty of this earth is what Jogi is all about. It entails the intricacy with which we feel our breath deepen and our lips turn into a smile every time we come across something remotely beautiful. The connection between our hearts and everything around us is amicable. Jogi will take you back to your summer holiday adventures and places that you made into sceneries as a child. It will make you want to move as farther as you can, so to find yourself amidst tiny hidden villages and hidden trails all around you. Unravel your love for adventure, the longing desire to experience something new and understand life in a truly different aspect.
That was indeed ecstatic. Very well done. Now we'll start with some of the questions to dig into some insights of what this journey was all about for Shubhrika. So I'll start with the first one. Thank you for that. How will you describe your journey so far? What I mean to say is that how have you evolved from being a teen, adolescent, and then turning into a scribe, a poetess? I mean, how has been the journey so far?
Okay, I think it's been chaotic. That's how I will describe my journey so far, from teenage, actually from childhood to who I am today. A lot of it happened as a school child itself, when you try and hide your writing or things, you keep scribbling on pieces of paper from your mom, so that you will not question that who is this about. from there it all began, and eventually I realized in the times when I started entering my 20s that traveling has an effect on me, specifically when it comes to traveling in the mountains. Certain people, when you connect with the nature, there's something about the challenges that's when you truly find yourself, understand yourself. So challenging is one thing, but describing that as a trail of or a series of opportunities is what I think it's more about. Because from trying to be comfortable in my own space, I started living alone last year as a 22-year-old, trying to manage expenses and living away from family, not being able to resonate with your friends, meet them regularly. That takes a toll on your mind in a way that you don't even realize it, and it's gradual.
It's the undercurrent.
Exactly. So I lost the art of writing for about a year and a half. Since the time I started working at an MNC, I do not remember what was the last time I wrote something creative. You end up journaling every night or every morning to try to calm yourself down, but creative writing was something that I found myself to be doing once again when I was in the mountains.
So it's been from nothing to something, then going away and then coming back stronger.
Totally. Yes.
Who inspires you?
That's a really vast question.
I mean, as a writer.
Yeah. I think if I think about who are the people who inspire me to have a good life and find opportunities in every challenge, it's a high-end thing, but Michelle Obama has been a superb inspiration. The time when Becoming came out, and the entire documentary of her book launches and everything. This morning's anecdote is that I started feeling like her in her Ohio launch. Because that's where she was wearing all white. Yeah, the behind the scenes of the entire book, how everything about her journey rolled out, the kind of people they are, the way they came across from being super normal people to step into a role where you have to think about whatever you say every step of the way.
Yes.
But when it comes to being a poetess, I used to define myself as a fictional writer more than a poetess. And poems came along when I found it really hard to describe myself in long prose. So this entire journey of Jogi happening was just a few scribbles on pages of a blank diary, which I felt that I could fill in a matter of days. And then refining it was something that took a lot longer than the book itself. That came from beautifies.
Oh, we all know.
Yeah.
She's exemplary.
She is, I think, the first person who brought a wave of free verse poetry. And the day I found out that she also self-published her first book, it felt like a jolt of inspiration and motivation, and that was the day I felt that I don't need to ask anyone anything anymore.
I can do that.
Yeah. It's just a matter of diving in now.
Well, yes, because when I read the book, it gave me a lot of comfort. I was never somebody who would read poems, but it was such a sweet surprise that I could relate to it. I could, for a change, understand it, imbibe it, carry it in my mind, and kind of even have a hangover of it, because it is so subtle, it is so clear, it is lucid. Because poem writing is, I believe in our society, is very esoteric. It's not for everybody. It's meant for a very small genre, a niche sort of a thing. If we go back in time, I remember when ghazals were a part of our life. It became very tedious with the hardcore Urdu which was presented for likes of Mehdi Hasan Saab and Bade Ghulam Ali Saab and then Ghulam Ali came. But there came a moment when Jagjit Singh took over and he simplified ghazals so much that a common person without any deep knowledge of literature would listen to it, him, relate to it and enjoy it. I think this is the Jagjit Singh moment for the poems. Yeah? She's made it so simple. I mean, if I can ask my 10-year-old boy that we want to read a poem, 99% he's going to say, oh come on, I'm not into it. But I open any part of the book, I give it to him, he would definitely read it, understand it and relate to it. So I think congratulations to you for doing a fantastic job of simplifying it and making ordinary people like us, take that plunge. It's opened a new window, a new chapter. So
There's
thank you.
a voice in my head saying that your makeup can get ruined. Please do not let water fall off your eyes.
Okay. My the next angle that I want to touch upon is writing. Is it more pain or joy?
So as someone who feels that learning never stops, I think it's scary.
Somewhere in between.
Yes. There's this concept that a lot of people say is true. People who have empty minds have their mouths always open.
Okay. That's interesting.
And with people, for people who are always trying to grow, I was not that person. Not too long ago, I was not that person. But once this started unraveling, once I started stepping out of my comfort zone, was when I started traveling the way I like to call it, adult supervision free.
On your own.
Yeah, that's when it actually started happening.
That's the pain part?
That's the pain part because there are too many things that are unknown to you. And same concept applies to writers too. As writers like Hemingway have quoted it, that writers who actually write well are always scared of what it will actually come out as. Will people want to read it? They're more worried about what the reader wants or how the reader can feel relatable, can feel supported, can feel that there's someone out there who understands me.
That's the fear of failure.
Yeah, and then there are people who write in a way that they're talking in print. So that is something that I don't feel a writer should be called as. So yes, for me, writing is scary because every time I sit in front of a blank paper, I think that's a horror story.
So how I see it is, what you're saying is, it's all pain, but there can be joy.
The joy is once you see that finished full stop.
That's a joy.
Yes.
That's a joy.
And the way you evolve yourself, if I take a time of when you're writing a short story, they're simpler, they're more fun because like a novel you don't have to wait years to see that final full stop. So once, even if it takes a few days, 3 days ago you were a completely different person because of that story. And the part that is scarier is how it changes you. So, but that's where the fun lies.
That's where the fun is. Okay, moving on. What is the stimulus behind the writing? What I mean to say is, what I mean to ask is, do you go with the flow or are you fixated at a target that yes, I have to be the writing?
It's funny. I think, so you find inspiration in your daily life. Turn this off, actually.
Is it? It's not this. Something in the outside.
So yes, you find inspiration from your daily life. There's this one idea that's been stuck in my head. if I'll explain it that way. Things happen and you feel inspired by them. So that's, for me, I find one particular part of the story that I just want to include in the story somehow.
So you're fixated on it?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll create the entire story or the poem, everything around that. The one thing I've been fixated on for the last 2 weeks is that I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago it was raining heavily in the evening, and while I drive back from work, there's this huge flyover that comes in the way. So it was so bad that even with wipers running at the highest speed, I could not see clearly. You could just make out shapes. So that's one idea, that I want my character to be stuck in that moment.
Oh.
A lot of people criticize writers for always including some scene where it's raining outside and it's a gloomy day and the raindrops are making a tipper-tapper sound on the windowsill. That's like a standard thing that goes through writers. But nobody talks about it in a way that how did you get here?
Yes.
I think the way nature inspired me was that when you're on a trek or a hike and it's a trail that you have never been to, you find yourself lost there and you forget each and everything that was happening in your life. There's this beautiful thing that I once heard and I do not remember where, but it said that when you're old, you'll only remember things that you did, not the things that you thought of.
True.
Not the moments when you're just lost in thought.
True.
And nature reveals that within you.
But, looking at a mountain, I can't remember the exact words, but it was something like, it was the mountain road. We've never, for people who are not very creative, they might even think it's crazy. But I can imagine myself actually talking to grass.
Yeah.
I can imagine myself talking to a tree and ask the tree, hello tree, how are you? And there is an answer already coming back from the tree. It is that kind of imagination that you provoke. And it's actually amazing. I'm so impressed with this. It's actually very, very delightful. Yeah.
I think that's something that happens for me with an entire mountain. Mountains in the winter winters are the time when you can actually see the mountain. Be it summer.
Are you being racist with nature?
No.
It's like white and black.
Not really.
When it snows, it's white. It doesn't snow, it's kind of black.
Yeah, even snow can hide the mountain itself. In the parts where it doesn't snow. Let's say if we take Kasoli, for example, I think all of us here thankfully know where Kasoli lies.
Yeah.
So, the parts where it doesn't snow, summer and monsoon will hide it in the trees. Extreme winter will hide it in the snow. And fall also has the golden leaves lying around. Those few days in the middle.
You have it there.
Yeah, when you have it there and you can actually see the story. Those cracks, they tell a story. The way it, reached there.
Yeah.
There would have been a lot of rainfalls that caused that.
Of course. And over, I think, millions of years.
Yes.
It's not yesterday or a month or 3 months. It's been there and it's very enticing to probe that
Right.
part of the mountain.
And I think during those rainfalls, when those cracks, the way they told me a story for the first time when I saw that kind of a thing, was that whatever rainfalls would have been there, animals would have tried to find shelter in the caves that are there in the mountains. There would have been people who might have fell on the trails because they were just trying to rush and reach home. There are people whose livelihoods depend on those rains. Then there are people whose livelihoods depend on the snow.
Yes.
And those rainfalls also take the snow away. It's just a journey that sort of speaks to you.
it has so many factors.
Exactly.
It's unlimited, I think.
Millions of stories that you are not unaware of. But the power of imagination, being human, the way you have the power of imagination, you can make up those stories and think how you would react in that kind of a situation.
Wow.
Even in the mountains, we see those Varsha Shala, things that barish ho to yahan shelter milo. Those things are not there in the cities because people are just not open to welcoming nature.
You know, I can feel that obsession about nature, and it actually takes a very serious obsession to bring something like that out of. Otherwise, an ordinary person with a limited mindset and imagination just cannot have it the way you have.
I think that's where nature comes in.
That's the big part.
It opens up your mind.
So, from the journey of a poetess to your connection with nature, to sum it up, I have a very open-ended question, and I think that the answer defines you as a person. How do you manage expectations?
That's a lot of pressure.
From within yourself, and do you think about expectations of your readers? So it's two parts. Your expectations within yourself and expectation of your readers. Do they matter? Do they don't matter? How do you approach it?
The first step is to forget your own expectations of yourself.
Okay.
That's important because most
Okay,
of
forget,
the...
sorry, I'm cutting in when I have
Yeah,
to.
please.
Forgetting the expectation does not mean you do not have expectation.
Definitely.
So that's the,
That's
that's
the
the
pull,
stretch.
yes.
That's the pull. Yes.
You have to neglect your own expectations. Most of the people here know that there's been a novel in me for the last 6 years. And the only reason that that did not come out as the first book is because I don't know when that will be finished. Because every time you go back to it, you want to tell that story in a certain way,
Yeah, that's right.
and your own expectations tend to put you down. Because there's a bar that you set for yourself.
Yes, exactly my question. How do you manage that?
But when you think of your reader, all you have to think about is that they should feel loved and feel that there's someone out there who thinks the same way as I do, who has some aspects of their life which are same as mine. I'm not alone in this journey. I think that's all that we're trying to do here.
Absolutely.
Not feel alone.
Absolutely.
So when you think of your reader instead of yourself, it helps you a lot because you're telling your story. And as artists, again, this is something that I read somewhere. As artists, you are on a very lonely journey in itself. Because when you work in an office, there's an entire team which is doing the same thing that you're doing. So you feel like you're a part of a community. But as an artist, you're not. It's your journey. And you have to shape it the way you want it to be. The reader becomes a very important part of it on both levels. But it's difficult to understand that before exposing it to the world. Unless the reader has actually read it, you don't know what their perspective is going to be.
So if you're writing something and within you the thought is that your reader may not be very impressed with it, do you still go ahead publishing it, or do you put it on a leash?
I think that's the catch. Because you have to. It's not that you have to please masses. And you don't write, you don't draw, you don't paint, you don't photograph for the pleasure of other people. You write because you need to.
So is it like...
Unless you tell that story,
So
you're
are
going
you
to miss
saying-
a part of yourself.
Are you saying this is me like in the mouth?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where
I have
want
to have faith in the fact that there is someone out there who does.
you can't please everyone and get appreciation
Yeah.
from everyone. But yes, you are trying to find your own community which can relate to your writing,
Exactly.
and they seek such writings, then you provide.
Right. So all of us love Harry Potter. Um, most of us love Harry Potter. And because of Harry Potter, we fell in love with J.K. Rowling. A lot of people don't like Twilight. But I am in love with Stephanie Meyer. It's the author and the way they tell the story. But as a person, if I say that fantasy does not entice me, I go with people more like Danielle Steele. Because they tell the reality. And unless you know the reality, I mean, life is a question paper. That's different for you, different for me.
Absolutely.
And there's no instruction manual. That's the hardest part.
Most of the things are out of syllabus.
Exactly. So
That
unless
is true.
someone tells you what reality they are living, there's no way that you can seek advice on how to deal with what you're going through. So maybe she's telling a completely opposite story from what I've been living. But there will be one sentence that probably stays with me throughout my life.
So you're presenting your own unadulterated opinion,
Yes.
thought, and the buyers, and in a hope that yes, there are people there out there who read it, enjoy it, and live with it.
I think it sounds very filmy when you say that it's not about the money, it's not about the number of books you sell, and it's about that one person who says that they felt loved or they felt heard. But it really is.
It is true.
Those numbers will give you the dopamine factor, which is there for just a few milliseconds.
But it's there.
Yes, it definitely is there. It's just that once those numbers go up, you start feeling that there are more people out there who are feeling the same way. And you're impacting their lives. Probably there's some girl living alone, not able to travel because of her money problems like I was. So for girls here, I did not shop for 6 months because I wanted to travel.
That's a sacrifice, definitely. That's
Huge! But yes, there definitely is someone who can probably feel that she went through that too. And I can do this.
So
Those were the kind of people that I was trying to find throughout my journey living alone.
That's quite a challenge, especially in these times. So it's well done. I guess. So can we now jump into the book?
Please.
We can, request you to talk about a few of the verses that you've written, just to get a deeper insight into how they were made and why were they made. So we can come to that. Let's begin with so if I may read this again. How do you love the mountains so much? They all look exactly the same, they said. Only someone who hadn't been to the mountains enough would dare say such a thing. Beautiful. I mean, it is so simple, yet the impact is so deep. So, do you want to explain what was the thought behind this?
I'll ask you guys. Everybody's watched Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. Give me hands. Who hasn't? That's the funny question.
He hasn't.
He has.
He has.
Okay.
There's this one scene where Hrithik Roshan says that he hasn't just heard us talking about the beauty of mountains in the middle of the night, and he was sleeping right in front of us. The seat ahead of us was where he was. So he said that pahad na same lagte hain.
Yes.
And my question to him was, you've grown up there. How can you say that?
Right.
So I have a favorite mountain.
Oh.
That's one favorite mountain that I do have, which is in Manali. So yes, I understand that no, they don't. They do not look exactly the same.
not seen enough.
Yes. Probably you only spent your time between Manali and Rohtak.
Yeah, and listening to music sometimes,
Right.
or chatting, not giving enough focus
Exactly.
to the nature. That's the whole point. I think next time it's going to be too much of a silence when we're traveling, too much looking outwards.
Just because the way I feel it, आधा नशा तो पहाड़ों का हो जाता है.
Absolutely. Well said.
You look at them
Well said.
and you don't need anything else. You're in a trance the whole time.
Already intoxicated
Exactly.
with beauty.
I've only gone on treks twice in my life, the hardcore treks. And once I'm 10 steps in, I want to sit.
How difficult is to take the step when once you stop? Do
I
you
think
get,
you
do you
just
get
keep going.
motivation every time?
Flowers that spring from in between the rocks of a mountain, the way rain plays from one turn to another, the chirping of the birds in a valley, and everything that hails from the beauty of this earth is what Jogi is all about. It entails the intricacy with which we feel our breath deepen and our lips turn into a smile every time we come across something remotely beautiful. The connection between our hearts and everything around us is amicable. Jogi will take you back to your summer holiday adventures and places that you made into sceneries as a child. It will make you want to move as farther as you can, so to find yourself amidst tiny hidden villages and hidden trails all around you. Unravel your love for adventure, the longing desire to experience something new and understand life in a truly different aspect.